You want to do Guardians here, or did we go?
We'll do Guardians, then we'll move on to some Cavs, and we'll wrap up with the top 5.
Your
but
question,
we do have to talk
I liked
Guardians.
your question. Your question really got to the heart of the matter. Here we are, approaching June 1st, and that's really. I always look at June 1st and August 1st as kind of if you split it into thirds.
July 31st or the trade deadline, whatever the deadline is.
Yeah, right before August 1st. So at June 1st. You're really not, unless you're the A's or, the Rays,
right.
You're not answering any definitive questions. You're still in the mix, like with 25 other teams. But it's getting late fast, and we're getting to that June 1st post, which is kind of the third way, a third of the way through the season. And the Guardians are woefully underperforming. They are 21-28. They're losing to bad teams, which is the trademark of this team is they feast on the Tigers and the Royals and the teams in their division that have played poor baseball. But the Tigers are above them. They're 4.5 games out of first place right now. And the question, as they get ready to start a series with the St. Louis Cardinals, who have also woefully underperformed, are the Guardians the biggest disappointment in baseball this year? And I'll hold my fire. I'll let you guys start.
Well, I'll shoot mine first and get it out the way because I'm not the biggest baseball guy. I'm a casual baseball guy. But I know enough to say no, they're not the biggest disappointment. The San Diego Padres are.
Yeah.
The San Diego Padres spent a lot of money to build their roster to go compete for a World Series, and they have gravely underperformed this season, and it doesn't look like they're going to get any better.
Well, unlike the Guardians, they play in a division that has a Megatron team in the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So you fall behind the Dodgers early, and
it's over with.
You can turn off the lights by the 4th of July.
Now, for me, I think personally the Guardians are a disappointment because this goes back to what I've said before. It seems like every single time that I personally have an expectation for a certain individual player or a team based on what they did last year, I'm let down. And I didn't see this coming, especially with them going to spend some money this offseason, getting a bat in here like Josh Bell, being around you guys. I'm getting educated on the game. I'm getting educated on who's who and how they can fit in and mesh. Me and Mikey, I know our guys are. I'm an Oscar guy. He's a Will Brennan guy. They've underperformed. And so it's just personally, they've let me down, but I wouldn't say they're the biggest disappointment in baseball at all.
Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, I want to look up the Padres payroll as you were talking, and I think I have to agree with Earl.
It's massively
$250 million.
Yeah, compared to the Guardians are under $100 million.
Yeah, well under. Yeah. And their Padres are 4 games under 500 still. So yeah, I think San Diego probably is the biggest disappointment, but the Guardians are on the list. I think a lot of people expected possibly guys would regress when you talk about all the rookies that they had last year. But the point I've been trying to make for the last week or so, it's not the young guys for me. It's the big money guys. It's the guys that they invested big money in. It's Jimenez, Bell, and Zunino. It's those three, the big contracts that they handed out over the winter. How much different does this lineup look if they're producing, if they're playing at the level that we thought they were? Jimenez, I think, is going to be fine. I said yesterday, you don't go from being a 7-WAR player to not being able to hit a curveball. Like, it just doesn't happen. He'll if you remember a couple years ago, Jose Ramirez went through an awful stretch, and he pulled out of it.
It happens.
Yeah, I think Jimenez will be okay. But Bell has just been a disaster of a free agent signing. And
what was it, $13 million?
Yeah, and it's 16. And he's got an option for next year. So if he doesn't get this thing turned around, he can just pick up the player option, and now it's a 2-year anchor.
And they're stuck with him.
And it feels hypocritical for me to crush him for it because I liked the signing at the time, so I can't turn around now.
I'm with you. I thought it was a brilliant signing.
But the fact is, at this point, it's a miss.
He has not been Edwin Encarnacion.
No, not at all. And so you worry about, Chris Antonetti and his crew have talked multiple times about we can't miss on free agents. And right now, it's a miss. And Zunino at $6 million is a miss.
Huge
and
miss.
I just don't know how much longer you can hold on to that rope thinking that it's going to turn. At some point, I know you don't want to go to the Dolans and say we have to eat that $6 million, but if you're trying to salvage a season, and the point I tried to make yesterday was it's not just Bo Naylor's not going to save the season. It's not just one move. But I think you take one day of drama where you say you DFA Zunino, you trade Rosario, you put Arias at shortstop every day, you put Naylor behind the plate every day,
and you're all in on kids again.
But it's something to try and shake this up because right now it's not working. It goes back to what we said about the Browns. When what you're doing isn't working, you have to change, and it's not emotional G. Bush knee-jerk reaction at this point. It's 2 months into the season.
Yeah.
And I 100% agree with you. By Memorial Day weekend in June 1st, you are what you are. Mm-hmm. And the standings can change. You can say it's early in the season, and that's true. But by June 1st, you pretty much are what you are, and you know what you are, and you know where your blind spots are, you know what your weaknesses are. And the Guardians have a lot right now. And I just think it takes grabbing something by the collar and shaking them. And to me, the shake is you're not going to get anything for Rosario of value. You're going to get a single A prospect, middling prospect at this point, or a middle reliever, a reliever that's not great. But it's more just clearing the path to get Arias those everyday at bats. They felt like Arias could play right field. Maybe Tyler Freeman can play right field. I don't know. But they love
What's happened to Oscar Gonzalez?
He's not even hitting well in AAA. Like, he's just fallen completely off the face of the earth.
And that was my biggest fear was of all the guys.
And he was the guy.
He was the
guy, as we talk Browns, high ceiling, low floor. He was that guy.
And it's the plate discipline.
High ceiling, low floor.
He's swinging at bad pitches, so he's not going to see good pitches.
Yes, it's chasing bad pitches. And Brennan's been a disappointment. All that is true.
Yeah.
But to me, it's the guys that they invested the big money in. And this lineup looks a lot different if the guys that they gave big dollars to are playing to the level that they expect.
Now, we talked earlier about how in the NFL, you've got 3 games every year that are just losses, and you got 3 wins every year that are just wins, and then the other 10, it's what
Determine
you do in the clutch.
Yeah.
And last year, everything went right.
Yes.
From day one through the last game of the season, they were sprinkled with magic fairy dust.
And that happens sometimes.
Sometimes it happens. They stayed healthy. This year, before they break spring training, McKenzie's out for 2 months.
Yep.
He's your number 2 arm. All of the little things that went their way last year are going against them this year. Clase has not been good. I know people say, well, he's either the league leader or among league leaders in saves. He hasn't been.
He's been off by that much. Hammy told us that the other day.
His velocity isn't there.
Yeah.
And I was there the other night, and he successfully came in and they closed it out. But I think he threw all sliders and cutters. I didn't see a single fastball. I didn't see anything that was in the 100-mile-an-hour range.
Yeah.
And in Major League Baseball, that threshold is over 99. When you start to get triple digits, that's where guys are swinging and hoping. Mm-hmm. And he's not throwing that way this year. So he's just off a little, and it just takes all of these guys to be off a little. Ramirez is trying to do his part, but if the guys that were brought in to protect him aren't hitting, guess what? He's still not seeing premium pitches.
And if you remember, Ramirez got off to a historic start last year.
He did.
April and May.
And cooled dramatically.
He was playing at MVP historic levels those first couple of months. And he's been fine. I mean, Hosey's not the problem with this team, but he's not playing. He's not having.
Yeah, he's not the problem.
He's not having the unfathomable start that he did last year. Where
right.
So
now,
all that plays into
the answer to the question is, I think you guys both got it right. The Padres are they're just a massive disappointment. We're crying because we brought in a $16 million guy, and what is Zunino? $6 million?
$6 million.
So we spent basically $24 million on 2 guys that are laying eggs.
Yeah.
Imagine if you're the Padres right now, and your payroll is $250 million, and you're looking up at the Dodgers, and that lead might as well be 10 games right now.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be hard to catch. They're not going to be a team. I still am not sold on the Twins. I'm just not.
I'm not either.
This division is the worst division in baseball, and it's not even close.
If I was thinking about this morning driving in. If I was Tampa, I would be furious that you're stuck in the East.
I would too.
Like, like here you are. You talk about punching up. That franchise punches up every year. Imagine if Tampa was in the Central, which frankly,
running away with it.
Geographically, I understand why they're in the East. Payroll-wise, they should be in the Central.
Yeah.
And
they're built like a Central team.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a real good point.
This is what pisses me off the most. Last year, the Rays, I think, were 29th in home runs, and the Indians or Guardians were 28th. They were among.
That is factual, yes.
Okay. The Rays are leading baseball in home runs this year.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable what this team is doing.
And a lot of it is just I think Yandy, last I looked, Yandy had 11.
He's been unreal. He finally found his power stroke.
Yeah, and Taylor Walls has come out of nowhere this year. Everybody's
hitting home runs.
Yeah,
everybody.
But they've got a lot of young guys going back to the Cavs conversation I was talking about yesterday, they had a lot of young guys that just sort of hit at the right time. They all just popped at the same time.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing how that translates in baseball with
insane.
the Rays.
Meantime, the Guardians have 30 home runs.
28 because they were off yesterday. Or no,
No,
it
they
was
have
30.
they
It
have
was
30. They do have 30.
That's terrifying.
Last I checked, they had 28 and 17 were solo shots. 17 to 28 were solo.
I mean, that is just that is, to me, that is absolutely terrifying. All of that being said, McKenzie is ready, so he'll be up soon.
Too bad he can't hit a curveball. He only throws.
Yeah, I know. But the rotation gets notably better. Now you've got 2+ front of the rotation guys, legitimate front of the rotation guys. They've got decisions to make. Please, Zach?
Oh, there is no decision on Plesac.
Done.
Yeah.
I'm done. To be quite honest, Cal, it's been a big disappointment.
Yeah.
Big disappointment. And you've got guys in the wings. You've got Bybee. You've got Logan Allen. You've got Gavin Williams, who's throwing ridiculous numbers down in minor league baseball.
Right.
Like, I know you don't want to punt on the season, and I don't think it is punting on the season, but a shot across the bow is necessary.
Yes.
Now, Tito is notoriously patient, and notoriously his patience have paid off.
Yes.
His teams typically start slow.
Yes.
So does he have a switch that he can find? He might, but I don't know at what point you say, okay, enough is enough, it's time to turn the page.
This feels different than a normal slow start only because the power has been so atrocious, and I don't know if that switch flips because we saw it last year. And if anything, it feels like it's regressed from where it was last year.
It's way, I think they're the lowest scoring team in baseball.
So that it's hard to look at this at this point. And for a while I was in it's early. They'll figure it out. It's early.
But it's starting to get
Tito
late.
teams always struggle in April. It's fine. But we're at the point now, we're to the June 1st mark of you are what you are. And this just feels different. And I think internally, to them, this feels different than a normal slow April, May, whatever. This is different.
To all of this discussion, I think the team that's in tonight, starting a series, the Cardinals are also a big disappointment. They've shown signs of life recently, where the Guardians, I can't remember the last time they won a series.
I mean, that's kind of terrifying to look at Cardinals, Orioles, and then, although they did play the Twins well when Minnesota was in town, I think they took 2 or 3, didn't they? And
they did.
I kind of thought at the time, like, maybe this is the start.
I did too. I thought that was going to be the spark
and it
that
wasn't.
got things going. But I will say this. When you look at this stretch, if they continue dropping 2 out of 3, which is what their MO has been all year, if they lose 2 or 3 to the Cardinals, 2 or 3 to the Orioles, 2 or 3 to the Twins, now you're likely not 4.5 out, you're probably 7.5 or 8 out, and you're just barely to June 1st. That's when I'm reaching for the panic button. I'm not yet. I've identified it. I know exactly where it is.
We know where the codes are.
And I got twitchy finger, and it's ready. But I'm not reaching for it yet. But if they drop 2 of 3 to all of these 3 teams, it's going to be really, really difficult to try to dig out of that hole. And what's really disappointing to me is the Chicago White Sox, who should have been much better but haven't been, they're a game behind the Guardians, and they have been horrendous until recently.
And Hammy pointed out when he was on with us, hey, I know what the record is, but there's too much talent in Chicago, and he's not ready to sell on them yet. And
I'm not either.
I agree.
They still, to me, when you look at their pitching
They
staff,
should be 10 games up in the division. Giolito and
I agree.
Cease and Kopech.
And they scare me.
Kopech was dominant yesterday and might be starting to put it together. And
I don't know how much of this, every one of their pitchers looked good against us, and I don't know how much of that is we just can't hit our weight.
Yeah.
Or how much of that is the White Sox staff. But I look at the White Sox, and they're going to get healthier in their bullpen.
Yep.
And you just start looking at them saying, geez, they still may be at 5.5 out. They still may be the team to beat.
Eloy's coming back. Eloy Jimenez will be back probably within the next week. Liam Hendricks is coming back. He had his own cancer battle. He's coming back within the next couple of weeks.
And he could be a rallying cry for this team,
Absolutely.
too.
So that could still be the team. We keep talking twins. I'm kind of with Hammy. The Sox aren't dead.
Are you now starting to give serious thought to you got to deal Bieber before the trade deadline?
I think he will be.
Yeah.
I think
and honestly, to me,
regardless of how this plays out, I think he's probably.
See, I disagree. I just think that if you're in it, and they'll know by July 1st, I think give them another month.
Yeah.
And If they haven't turned it around by then, I'm trading Bieber immediately. I don't even wait till the trade deadline.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is, once that Bieber trade happens, to me, I can't envision this team making any kind of playoff noise without a Bieber at the front of the rotation.
I guess my counter to that would be Gavin Williams would be up the next day.
Well, you're asking a lot of these kids.
You are. You're 100%
and I have faith in them, and Bybee and Allen have proven that they can get guys out.
Yeah.
But it's June.
Yep.
It's May.
Yep.
We know Bieber can get guys out in September and October.
If McKenzie comes back and throws the way we expect McKenzie can throw,
he could be your ace.
He comes up one spot. Gavin Williams comes up. You've got Bybee, Logan Allen, and Williams, I think, are the future now. Espino, I don't think you can count on at this point.
No.
He's out quite a while.
Mostly the year, right? Most likely?
14 to 16, yeah.
Yeah.
All of this year and half of next year before he throws a ball, I think.
Yeah.
It's serious what he's got. I mean, we're not at that point yet. It may alter. He may ultimately have to become a reliever after this. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll ever be the same pitcher after this.
It's a shame, too, because he had such promise. And
they
were really.
And this is the point that Bull and I went round and around on yesterday. I think part of the roadblock that they've had with trying to make deals is everyone was asking for Bybee, Espino, and Williams, and the Guardians were hesitant to trade them. And the issue you run into is, well, what if you say, okay, we won't trade Espino, but we'll give you Williams? You're rolling the dice. If you lose Williams, and now you've just lost Espino.
That's why you hold all three.
That's why you hold all three, and it really is an impediment then to the deals that you can make because teams are saying, well, if we don't get one of those guys, it's no deal.
And now you're likely going to get nothing for Espino. Ship has sailed.
Right. Well, and maybe he can make a full recovery from this, but you've just pushed that timeline back to where he's not even in the conversation right now.
Right. They got to win. They got to start now. I'm going to the game tonight. I'll be screaming my lungs out for them, doing my part. It's got to happen soon, or it's going to be a wrap.
So we know if the Guardians lose tonight, we know who to blame.
It's
it is
my
officially
fault.
Jay
I
Crawford's
didn't yell
fault.
loud enough.
Will you be in the dugout suite and on camera the whole time?
I was Monday. I'll be in another suite up top this time.
No FaceTime for Jay tonight.
No, and I like it that way. When people are texting me stuff, because my reactions are pretty. I wear them on my sleeve. And I had friends telling me, saying, "Oh yeah, I just read your lips and you weren't saying funny."
Well,
like,
Big
that's your
Baller
boy,
Jay is
Jay.
his choice of suites at Progressive Field. We're going to move on to the next time. We're going to combine our two basketball topics into
Look
one.
at
and
that.
It starts
Jay
with
got
a
the
fan
shooters
video.
bounce off the chair and the pillow.
Good luck then for the Guardians tonight. But we're going to start with the